right. And wait for it. Are we back? Are we live? Yes. Okay. All right. And we are back. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the stream. If you're watching brand new and you're totally confused as to what just happened, we just reacted live to the Trump Town Hall on Fox News. To be safe copyright-wise, I took it down and started a new stream. And so on tonight's official episode of The Vince Dao Show, which starts now, we'll be giving you our main breakdown and analysis of what you just saw tonight with the Trump Town Hall. We also got some stuff to talk about on the Daily Wire Twitter front. Yeah, Elon Musk actively now admitting that he was indeed censoring the What Is a Woman documentary. We thought earlier today, and I made a video about how it was just a misunderstanding. Turns out, no, there was actually active censorship there. And also got to talk a little bit about this Andrew Tate BBC interview, because honestly, I thought the media in America were bad. You're going to see it in a second. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Vince Dao Show, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight from the great state of Florida. Welcome everyone to the Vince Dao Show. I am your galaxy-brained host, and I mean it when I say that. Don't ask me, ask the Rolling Stone, Vince Dao. Everyone be sure to leave a like right now on the stream and subscribe if you are new. Most of you guys just came from the last stream, so I'm not going to just redo everything. I'm just going to say one more time. You guys want to super chat to support the show. As usual, we would do our Q&A portion at the end and in between our segments. Same rules apply. So again, you want to support the stream tonight, it is greatly appreciated in advance. God bless you guys. I appreciate it very much. All right, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's not beat around the bush. Let's just get right into our stories for tonight. So, right off the gate, obviously, we just came off of the Trump Fox News Town Hall with Sean Hannity. Initial thoughts here. Okay, so first and foremost, it surely didn't have the highlights of the CNN town hall, right? Sean Hannity's no Caitlin Collins. We know most of the questions are going to be pretty straightforward, pretty fair, not anything totally out of the park, out of the water. But what I will say about what we saw, I thought energy was very good. Okay, because that's always been the concern with Donald Trump in 2024. Is he too old? Is he too old? And I will fully acknowledge, right, there have been, in my opinion, low energy moments from Donald Trump. This certainly was not one of them. I thought he was totally sharp. I thought, you know, he was there. He didn't seem quiet, didn't seem like old or whatever. Thought 100% there. I thought the answers were fairly solid, you know, nothing absolutely super duper memorable. We'll go over the highlights, but it's just a standard solid Trump interview. But I think in many ways, that's all he needed to do tonight, right? If you're Donald Trump, you are the front runner. You're beating Ron DeSantis by like 30, 35 points right now. And this is not to say I don't want everything from Donald Trump, because I absolutely do. But I thought it was solid, right? That's all you have to do is just keep up the momentum, keep staying solid. Don't make any really significant blunders or mistakes, and the nomination is yours. And I thought this advanced that a lot well. I thought it also helped catch up or whatever, at least in the eyes of the public, because I'm sure you look at the polls in Iowa. Trump's been killing it. He's been doing fine, all of that stuff. But you know what the DeSantis camp has been saying ever since that canceled rally in Des Moines? Remember that? They're saying, Donald Trump doesn't really have support in Iowa. And then you have this video today, which was very dishonest. And look, I'm going to just say, I don't hate Ron DeSantis or anything, but, you know, I saw some of his media surrogates pushing this talking point, and it was very dishonest. They were showing he was at a radio station. In fact, I think I have the video on my Twitter, but he was at a radio station, right? And there's like 7 people there. And the line they kept running with is, Trump, only 7 people showed up to support Trump in Iowa. It's like, no, he went on a radio station to do a radio hit, and he was hanging out with the people at the radio station. But still, regardless, right? This has been the talking point from the Trump haters. It's been, he does not have energy. He does not, which he did tonight. And also, he does not have real grassroots support in Iowa. It's all a mirage. Look at the failed rally. Look at the radio station. Well, here you have it. Here was, you know, the support for Donald Trump, as I will show you here on the screen. Let me resize it slightly. Tonight in Iowa. And I thought just optically, he did a good job here. This totally dispelled that myth. So here you go.
Iowa, welcome. Joining us now for the hour, the 45th President of the United States, current GOP presidential candidate, frontrunner Donald Trump.
So, you know, just obviously very cool entrance, very beloved, right?
That's a nice group.
Nice group.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
See, this right here, just, it's vintage Donald Trump, right? It's the vintage Donald Trump energy, very beloved by the people. He doesn't stumble on his way out. You know, he looks sharp. He's not wearing a silly vest or anything, right? He's sharp, image good, powerful posture, stance, all that stuff. And I'm just pointing this out because I think what's most important, the most important takeaway is he needed an optical victory in Iowa, because the other crowd kept saying, well, look, you canceled your rally, look, this and that. And then, you know, on the other hand, now he's just beating those talking points out of the water, I think 100% and completely. What I will point out, too, is that, you know, again, I'm not hating particularly on DeSantis, but we're talking about the primary. I'm going to share my opinions, right? I think Donald Trump, especially in this interview setting, is still incredibly entertaining, right? Never once was I bored. Never once was I tuning him out, which we really can't say of the DeSantis Twitter space town hall or whatever that is. But I think what we see is charisma-wise, entertainment-wise, energy-wise, despite his old age, despite not being, you know, the guy perhaps he was in 2016, I think he's still miles ahead energy-wise of Ron DeSantis. And I think when you saw that tonight, that's still pretty indisputable. Still more charismatic, still more energetic, you know, all of those different words. And I will say, right, DeSantis definitely has a lot of catching up to do in this regard. Yes, he's done some successful events or whatever it is, but you can tell there's something about the enthusiasm of Trump. There's something about the energy of Trump that is still there, right? That is still there. That is just missing from Ron DeSantis. And so, you know, in my opinion, if you are Ron, you're trying to figure out right now how to catch up to that. And, you know, I know some people were making fun of him for wearing that vest and those boots. They say he looked kind of silly in Iowa. I would tend to agree. That's up to your interpretation. But I thought, you know, this image right here, this video, very powerful stuff. And then when we get into just, you know, the answers, the stuff he said tonight, there's another angle of his walkout, which powerful, cool, right? He's cool. That's the thing. Donald Trump is still cool. That's the thing about Donald Trump, you know? But anyways, I'm just going to play, just for recap purposes, I'll play a few answers to his questions. Here's some of the stuff I have on my timeline.
Current GOP presidential candidate frontrunner Donald Trump.
Oh, wait, sorry, that was the one I already played. Here you go.
That's what started the inflation. I mean, the energy. We stopped drilling, and all of a sudden, gasoline's going up to $5, $6 a gallon in a car, and just horrible things were happening. And it happened, but we were going to pay off debt. We were going to reduce taxes further. We gave you the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, bigger than the Ronald Reagan tax cut. And the biggest, and you know, I think more importantly, Sean, we gave you the biggest regulation cuts. That's why we had more jobs than we ever had before. We've never had anything close. And we did all of that. And then to end that, but we were going to pay off debt. We were going to get the debt because the money is so big. It's so massive. You look at Saudi Arabia.
So you guys get the idea. You know, there's not a lot significant to show. I just thought it was overall solid, right? There's no big highlight takeaway moment. Besides him taking some funny shots at Ron DeSantis. Wouldn't even say Ron DeSantis' name, just called him the guy in second place, which I thought was interesting. But here you go. Now they asked him about these classified documents thing. We know, total witch hunt.
Maybe with.
But
Do you know anything
here's the answer to that.
All I know is this. Everything I did was right. We have the Presidential Records Act, which I abided by 100%. Biden has 1,850 boxes with a lot of classified stuff that he's not supposed to have in his case. I have the right to declassify as president.
Special counsel that.
So, you know, there's that answer. Like I said, Nothing super groundbreaking. I just thought overall very solid performance from Donald Trump. And like I said, that's all you need. Now, I would say if you're Ron DeSantis, see, I know some people got mad at me last week during his announcement when I was just pointing out there's just not a lot there, right? Whatever it is. But you say, oh, well, Donald Trump, if he just held the line tonight and did a solid job of that, then what's the difference? Well, the difference is if you're Donald Trump, you're 30 points ahead, right? And just all you need is a solid showing. That's all he needs. And I think he did that. And I think, like I said, if the primary continues at this rate, then, he'll be just fine. I think that gap is widening. DeSantis does have time, but I think unless he truly comes from left field with something, coming soon, I don't think it's going to happen, and you see him in some moments in Iowa. And again, I don't hate the governor, but you see him in some moments in Iowa and you're like, well, maybe if the field were open, obviously if the field were open, DeSantis would be the number one guy. But I look at him, I think if you're running as the guy who's trailing so far behind Trump, you need to ultimately figure out a way to outclass Trump in so many ways, right? You need to outclass Trump in terms of charisma. You need to be more energetic than Trump, because I know a lot of DeSantis people will point out, well, like 2008, Obama took out Hillary, upset Hillary, came from behind, right? But that's the difference. Obama was the guy who, A, was more charismatic, and B, here's the other thing, was more of a visionary, right? He really sold this vision. It was a fraudulent one, obviously, but he sold this vision of hope, progress, love. Hillary Clinton was just, I'm Bill Clinton's husband, so vote for me, right? That's what got Obama across the finish line. I look at the DeSantis campaign, and again, I don't hate Ron DeSantis. I think he's a very solid governor, but I don't see anything from him that really, A, is beating Donald Trump on the optical department, right? Really, he sees, and I know people call him No Riz Rob, which is a funny name, but it is true, right? He just seems like a less charismatic, less enthused Donald Trump, perhaps you could say. But then on top of that, and this is something Patrick Bet David brought up on his podcast when he was talking about, which I thought was a good point, is that, he can be hypothetically the most effective, competent governing man that there is out there. But when you're up against a man like Trump, who sells the dream, this is the way PBD put it, and I thought it was well put. Donald Trump sells the dream. Right? He even people say, oh, he's not the most articulate, but you understand that's not what it's about. You look at Donald Trump come out, right? He just projects strength. He's cool. You know what I mean? He's a guy that Republican voters look to, and even if it's like, oh, he's not as articulate as DeSantis technically or whatever, he sells the hope. There's something about him that sells the vision, right? And Ron DeSantis kind of just being the guy who's going to say, well, but I'm the guy who was more effective with the policies. That could be true, that could be not true, but that's not how elections work, right? Elections are not won by the smartest guy, or if it were who's the smartest guy, right? Ben Carson would be our president right now, but that's not the case, right? There's something about the optics, the image, that I just feel like DeSantis, maybe he can miraculously figure out a way to come up with it, but I feel like there's something right now that is just lacking there. Unless he figures out very fast how to outclass, you can't just equal. If you equal, Trump is still the guy in the lead. Right? To somehow outclass Trump on the charisma front, on the image front, on that inspiring revolutionary front, which I've laid out before how DeSantis hypothetically could do it, but from what I've seen, I don't think he is. Then all you're going to do is forgettably just continue to run 30 points behind Trump, get like 25% in Iowa, and that's about the end of the story. So there's my thoughts on it. Obviously we'll be talking more about this primary as it gets closer. But yeah, we'll move on now to our other stories of the day. But first, let me see if we got any super chats. Justin Schaefer became a Dow Pack General member. Thank you very much. Sorry, not Justin. I'm dyslexic. That was a Joe Biden moment. Jack Schaefer, welcome to the Dow Pack General membership tier. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. And Shane Keena for $5 says, Trump's challenge is to watch the register in the back office. If he can do well behind the scenes, the front of the house will take care of itself. This is true. Personnel is policy, which still is a concern of mine around Donald Trump, I will admit. But at the same time, I look at some of the proposals he's putting out now, and some of them that are very visionary, and I know for a fact Donald Trump didn't write them. And, whether that's the family stuff, building like new American cities, all that stuff, I'm like, I think someone on our side had to have written these things. So thank you for the $5. Again, if you guys want to super chat tonight to support the show, it's greatly appreciated. And I will read them periodically in between our stories here. But okay, there's just my initial thoughts on the Trump town hall. Not much else to say about it. Let's move on here now to our other stories, ladies and gentlemen. Should we talk first about Twitter, or should we talk first about the Andrew Tate interview? I guess it's sooner on my timeline. We'll talk about the Twitter thing, okay? So, I did a video earlier today talking about how Twitter had censored the What is a Woman documentary, right, from the Daily Wire. Initially, they were going to have this movie deal where they were going to promote it, and then they took that off, and then they were outright labeling it hateful content and not even allowing anyone to share it or whatever it is. And Elon Musk initially came out and said this, which we all thought was going to mean that, everything was going to be all good. Let me see if I can find it here. Let's see here. I think here it is, right? Elon Musk says, so this is what he initially came out and said. He says, this is a mistake by people at Twitter. It is definitely allowed, blah, blah, blah. So it sounded, this was a vague answer. And I was actually a little bit sus by this because I thought I was like, okay, but what are you really trying to say there, Elon? It sounded like, okay, it was all good. We're going to clarify it. Some people at Twitter just subverted or whatever, and we wouldn't have any problems. Or so we thought. Okay. Until, sorry, I got to scroll a little bit here to take it out. I'm trying to tell you guys the whole timeline here. Let's see here. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. So that was the initial story of today. Sorry for the little intermission. Okay. So that was the initial thing, and, we all thought, people were even commenting on my video, getting mad at me, saying, we already clarified this. Elon, clarified it. It's all good. Everything's okay. What is a Woman is not being censored. But then a few hours later in the day, you continue to see that Twitter was still flagging the movie. Okay, so Matt Walsh tweets out as of 2 hours ago, after promises that the problem would be fixed, the film has continuously been flagged as hate speech and the shares have been disabled. See, as you guys see. And see, I looked at Elon's tweet and thought, well, maybe something is still going on here. Now, you could boil it down to, oh, that's the old Twitter software, because it's what the excuse was, right? That's the old Twitter software. It's all good. But this, first of all, made me a little bit suspicious, because I was like, it's been several hours. Elon, you've directly responded to it. I could understand if it were some small-time conservative thing, but this is the Daily Wire. This is What is a Woman. Like, certainly, what's going on here. Certainly, you would rush to have this fixed, right? But hours later, they're still getting this thing where it's like, you can't share because this tweet may violate Twitter rules because it's against the hateful conduct policy. And so this is what I said. I said, there's no way this is a mere mistake by this point. It's been several hours. I was mistaken here, right? I said, I don't think Elon is directly involved because I was like, I think he's fine with this movie, but certain people at Twitter are subverting him, need to fire many people. That's what I thought, right? I thought, okay, there's probably this mutiny going on. His employees are like the ones screwing with the movie or whatever it is. But this was breaking as of when we were doing the town hall, ladies and gentlemen, when we were reacting to the town hall. This came out here, okay? Because everyone's tweeting about it. And we're like, hey, why is this still going on? What is a Woman still being censored on Twitter? Elon Musk responds, we are updating the system tomorrow so that those who follow Real Daily Wire will see this in their feed, but it won't be recommended to non-followers, nor will any advertising be associated with it. So in other words, they're going to shadow ban the movie. They're shadow banning What is a Woman. And I'm like, Elon, what's up with this? Genuinely, I know he's not perfect on the free speech thing, but genuinely, I didn't think he would take any issue with this. And this is massively disappointing. Now, here he is going out there saying, yes, we are censoring the movie. Yes, we are going to shadow ban it. Yes, we're going to make it so that you can't even see it if you don't follow the Daily Wire. And that's what we're doing. And I'm like, what exactly is going on here, right? And so I responded by saying this. And then I pointed this out too. It's true. What about this film is even controversial? What is the pretext for this, right? Now, I'm going to talk about what's actually in the film to begin with. But in case you're confused, if you think, oh, well, maybe Elon doesn't like it, here he is on May 29th. That's what, 3 days ago, right? This person tweeted out, like, if aliens were to visit us right now, what's one thing we've chosen to do as a society that would be super hard to explain? And Elon Musk is like, what is a woman? right? So I guess there's many ways to read this, but I looked at this and thought Elon is kind of taking our side with this, right? He too thinks it's silly. We can't define what a woman is. And let's be honest, what is this fundamentally? This is a reference to the documentary. This is Elon Musk referencing the Matt Walsh documentary. And, you know, I don't know if that would count as an endorsement, but still, he's going to reference the film 3 days ago. And then now here he is today saying that the film is too controversial to boost on Twitter and we're going to admittedly shadow ban it, okay? And I don't know what to say to that other than that's a serious breach of this whole idea that Twitter is supposed to be a free speech platform, okay? And we know this. But here's my thing. They have this whole policy at Twitter where they say freedom of speech but not freedom of reach, which means that they're going to allow more on Twitter now. But when it comes to things that are deemed too controversial, they might deboost them. They might shadow ban them, which I don't support, obviously. I'm not even the biggest fan of that either. But consider what you're actually doing here, right? There is nothing about what is a woman that should be all that particularly controversial. All that the movie itself is Matt Walsh goes around and asks people on both sides. He asks both liberals and conservatives the very simple question of what is a woman? That's all that the documentary is, right? This is not exactly Mein Kampf the movie, okay? You know what I mean? This is not, they say it's hate speech, it's so controversial. Arguably, what is a woman is one of the least controversial things that any conservative has ever put out, or at least it should be. It should be, right? Because there's like nothing in that. There's nothing in the movie itself where they do anything. They don't even particularly assert anything. All they do is interview people and ask them the question again, what is a woman? And if according to the Elon Musk Twitter, that is too controversial to not get shadow banned, if that is too controversial to even show up in the recommended feed, then what is not controversial? And frankly, how is that even all that different from the old Twitter? I don't know. I don't know the answers to these questions. And I just have to say, Elon, I'm heavily disappointed in you. You know, you haven't been perfect thus far, but he's been doing a decent job, I thought. But, and by the way, I still think Twitter has a lot better guidelines than YouTube, that's for sure, because there's certainly things I can tweet out that I can't say on here. And I appreciate what he's done. But this is just heavily disappointing, right? This is just incredible. And by the way, if this, Elon, as we know, is about to hand over Twitter to the new CEO. And if you know anything about the new Twitter CEO, she is like connected to the World Economic Forum. She's very sus. A lot of us out there were already skeptical of her. We're not the biggest fans. And this is the precedent as you are about to hand over Twitter to someone who may not really be the best about this stuff. As you're about to hand over Twitter to that person, right? As you're about to hand that over, this is the precedent you're leaving behind. That a simple documentary asking people what is a woman on both sides of the political aisle and allowing them to give their response. If that is too controversial, then going into an election year and going into when there's going to be new leadership at Twitter, what kind of precedent, Elon, are you leaving behind, right? And in case you're confused, maybe you think I'm being a little bit dishonest in terms of, what exactly they're censoring about here. Let me just provide for you here the receipts and proof that it really is all that simple. There's a Jeremy Boring thread from earlier today where he explained specifically what the censorship was about, right? And it's Twitter canceled a deal with a Real Daily Wire to premiere What is a Woman because of 2 instances of misgendering. That's what it is, misgendering, okay? Now, misgendering, first of all, I should note, is really not a thing, right? It's like, oh, you're misgendering, you mean you're telling the truth? Whatever, okay, fine, whatever, right? But before you say, okay, but Vince, I could see why that might be controversial. You're wondering who is misgendering. The misgendering that they're talking about here was not even committed by Matt Walsh or like the host of the documentary. It's that the father, right? There's a father they interview in the movie who misgenders, and I think there's someone at a store who misgenders. So it's not even like Matt Walsh himself, quote unquote, I should use quotations, right? Misgendering. It's that they platform other people misgendering. Again, if this is what is being deemed as a logical standard, if this is what is being deemed too controversial to be basically on Twitter, or at least on Twitter without being shadow banned, then how exactly do we expect to go forward into 2024 with any degree where you can say anything conservative at all? Because apparently you can't ask the question, what is a woman, right? And it's just disappointing to see. And it's especially, like I said, strange because Elon Musk on one hand is out here, you know, pro-signaling the movie, at least I thought, right? He's out here saying this, what is a woman? Seems like he's going along with what we're saying. And at the same time, he's like, you know, we're not going to do it. We're not going to allow this to be seen. Without explaining why, by the way. I'd like Elon to try to explain why. Because, but that's the thing, right? And that's my other thing and why I'm just upset with this. This is so dishonest. If you really sat down and asked, what about what is a woman is so controversial, you would basically be forced to admit nothing, but libtards don't like it because it really is that simple. And so we're going to censor it, right? Like I said, there's nothing particularly controversial. It doesn't even really go that far. In fact, it was criticized, right? Some on the right, not me, but some on the right have criticized it for saying, well, it was like all it did was ask what a woman was. I mean, we need to be saying more, which I think Matt Walsh would agree. But the point of it is just like, it's this simple. They can't even answer this. That's what it's trying to demonstrate. And apparently that is that controversial to the people at Twitter. So I don't know. I don't know. But there is that. We will keep you updated. I hope that, I don't know, we can figure out something. I want to hear a greater explanation. But before we go on here to our next story, Shane Keena for $5, thank you very much, says Elon's role in the U.S. culture war has expanded post-purchase and he was needed, but now he's becoming a liability. Can we at least say that? Thank you for the $5, Shane. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a liability yet. I would not say that, but yeah, it's definitely concerning, is what I will agree with you on. Yeah, it's definitely concerning. I will say the standard he's leaving behind is very concerning. I will still say, even with all this considered, Twitter was better than it used to be, and that's still undeniable. But yeah, I 100% agree. I 100% agree with you. It is very concerning to say the least. But yeah, you guys want to super chat to support the show. You got questions or comments that you want read and answered, feel free to send them in via these super chats. It is all greatly appreciated, and it helps us fight against the YouTube demonetization problem because, you want to talk about Twitter. Here on YouTube, every single video we post, yellow, yellow, yellow. That means it's all demonetized. So it's greatly appreciated. It keeps the show going. As you know, we are totally independent and grassroots here. But all right, folks. Well, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go on to our next story here really quickly. And that's, I want to talk about this Andrew Tate interview right here. Because I have to say, we've seen a lot of dishonest journalists. Okay, that's nothing new. We've seen a lot of it in recent years. We just went through several hours of Trump, years of Trump, I should say. But here, let me put this in here for you. Boom. Sorry, let me just size this really quickly. Okay. All right, this should be good enough. Sorry. There we go. Does that fit? All right, there should be good. Okay. All right, let's get into this. So today, Andrew Tate, or I should say, right? Today, the first interview with Andrew Tate since he was released from prison came out, is with this woman from the BBC. And I have to say, I have witnessed so many years of Trump derangement syndrome in the media. We just saw Caitlin Collins and Donald Trump at that town hall. Okay, so I've seen a lot. I say all to say, I'm an American conservative, obviously. I have been through a lot. I've seen a lot from the journalist class. And I have to say, what I saw here from the BBC and this journalist, this reporter, genuinely may have been the greatest disgrace in the history of modern news media. I go so far as to say the entire thing was an international disgrace on the part of BBC, okay? This woman, first of all, blood was coming out of her eyes. Joking, but no, in all seriousness, absolutely miserable. Absolutely just like one of the most insufferable interviewers I think I've ever seen. Every single question was stupid. Every single question was bad faith. You can go watch the whole thing on Andrew Tate's Rumble here, but I want to point out this one segment. We'll react to it here, but they asked a lot of stupid questions. They first go off immediately, ask about like the investigation that's ongoing and he can't even talk about for legal purposes fully, and they won't stop asking stupid questions about it. And then repeatedly, it's just like, hey, this out of context video from 2018. Why did you do it? Blah, blah, blah. But then this is where it gets really stupid. Okay, so listen to this. The woman from the BBC here gets caught straight up making stuff up. I'm going to play it for you. She basically asked this question. She keeps saying this. She's like, you're a bad influence. Why are people saying this about you? Why are random people saying this about you? And then take a listen here. Well, listen to this.
He's a positive influence in the world, and he's positive for the women around him.
So
just because I discuss
many
men's issues, people say, oh, you're anti-woman. I'm not anti-woman, I love women.
Why are so many women saying that when their boyfriends start following you,
They're not.
they experience more control?
So many.
They experience
How many?
more abuse?
How many?
Enough.
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 Well, this is the first time I've heard of it. So, in fact...
One is...
Okay, did you notice that? Did you notice that? How come I hear a British person talk and then all of a sudden I start talking like a British person? No, in all seriousness, no, right? So, do you notice she just totally made that up? And this is the whole interview. Okay, I'm just playing a short excerpt. There's a whole interview like this. Okay, so she goes out there and says, why are so many women saying that their boyfriends were mean to them when they started following you? And Andrew Tate asks a very simple question. Who is saying that? Where are you hearing that from? Are you just totally making it up? But as you'll hear, right, listen to her response again. She just totally makes it up.
When their boyfriends start following you,
They're not.
they experience more control.
So many.
They experience
How many?
more abuse.
How many?
Enough.
Enough. Like, she's like, enough. Yeah, that's not really an answer to the question, right? Where are you getting that from? She's just literally making stuff up to ask bad faith questions. And this is the entire interview. I kid you not. And the woman looks miserable the whole time. She is miserable. It's just a terrible
Well,
look.
it's the first time I've heard of it. So, in fact...
One is too many.
Oh, of course, yeah. So, in fact, I've seen thousands and thousands of comments and have endless emails from women praising
Doesn't it worry you?
praising the fact that their sons are listening to me,
Does it not
praising
worry
the
you?
fact that their
The
husbands
things
are
I'm
listening to me.
saying, does it not worry you?
It would worry. It would
You're
worry.
not concerned about
it
your
would.
influence?
It would worry me if I was genuinely damaging the world. But for you to sit here and say, Andrew, you've become the most Googled man in the world. You have billions of views, and one woman, is now saying that her husband is
I
not the
have
same man she
presented
wants him to
you.
be, when thousands and thousands of people are saying the opposite. Well, then I would say
I've
that's.
presented you with case after case after case, with quote after quote after quote of people who are genuinely concerned about the impact you're having, and you brush it off as if it's nothing.
Quote after quote, case after case. She couldn't even cite it. Like I said, she just makes stuff up here. She couldn't even cite who. She's like, well, enough, many of them. And then she has the arrogance to sit there and again say, I've stated quite case after case. And listen, I don't care if you like Andrew Tate or not. You can dislike him. I know, it's always a divisive topic in our audience. But I just have to point this out because this was one of the worst conducted interviews I've ever seen. And like I said, we're conservatives. We've watched all the bad interviews with Donald Trump. This really takes the cake. And I wish I could show you the whole thing, but we don't have the time. But let's listen to some more of it here.
No, what you have done is come here with an agenda. You've come here with loaded questions. You've come here with things taken out of context. You come here with things that you don't understand are satirical. And then you're going to also sit and say that one woman said that her boyfriend changed when he watched one of your videos. And then I don't know what you expect me to say to that. That's
sarcastic and jokes.
No.
That's how you explain the comments you make.
For you to sit down.
Would you like to apologise for any of them?
For you to sit down and for you to sit down. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's easy. For you to sit down and say that one woman said that her boyfriend watched an Andrew Tate video and now he won't do the dishes, or whatever your argument is, and
which she won't cite.
I'm somehow the worst, most dangerous man in the world because I have a car. It's just disingenuous, and I'm enjoying this interview very much because this shows the world. It's great. It shows the world the truth about the legacy media because they beg me for interviews. They beg me. You have been begging me for months. Please, we need to be relevant. And then you come here with loaded questions trying to paint a picture of me, which is completely and utterly false. I am a good, positive influence for the world. The things I teach men are stoicism, discipline, self-respect, hard work, obeying authority, listening to your fight coach, working hard in school, making as much money as possible in your job. If you actually watch the things I say, if you actually watch my comments about women, I've done long podcasts for hours long about females, talking about protecting for them, providing for them, how I believe a woman should be treated in a relationship. I've done all of this, but you don't watch any of it, and then you come here and ask me to answer questions I've answered at length thousands of times.
Since you came out of custody, there seems to have been a lot about your...
So that's just an excerpt of it. Like I said, I'm not going to play the whole thing. You can watch the whole thing on Andrew Tate's Rumble, I think. But this is what I said. I said BBC journalist gets, it was one of the worst things to ever happen. And I called them, and it's true. The woman in the network she represents are an international disgrace. They should be ashamed of themselves. Luckily, for the sake of truth, they did such a bad job, it's hard for them to dispute. And then I said this, think about what you will about Andrew Tate, but nothing will convince me that he is worse than the world for the dishonest hacks of Western media. These people are the enemy of civilization, which is 100% true. And then here's the thing too, right? Not that we exactly expected a good faith interview out of the BBC, but, you know, we've talked at length on this channel about this case itself, about how, you know, there's arguable human rights violations going on, about the fact that the guy in many ways, like, is probably, I guess still is, but was, especially when he was in jail, something of a political prisoner. And if you watch this whole interview, not once do they really bring up that aspect of it. The whole thing is just, oh, well, you said this on the internet like 5 years ago before you had a following. Every single question, just again and again and again. And then she also brings up this rape charge that they're talking about, which has been dropped, right? And there's another point at the interview. You go watch it. It's towards the end. There's a point where she keeps bringing up, well, you're being charged of rape. And I think his lawyer, actually, who was in the room at the time, says, no, he's not. That's been dropped. And so the journalist doesn't even do her research, right? You're about to interview, like the big time interview. She doesn't even do her research. She asks a bunch of stupid questions the entire time. She doesn't even look presentable. Like, she looks like she just woke up out of bed. And the whole thing, like I said, is just a total disgrace. I think Andrew Tate, again, whatever you think of him, comes out of this interview looking 10 times better. And honestly, you know, like I said, what did it remind me of? What do I relate to with it? It reminds me of like Donald Trump whenever a journalist come along, ask some stupid questions, keep cutting them off, and the entire thing is bad faith. And, you know, and that's what it is. So there's the Andrew Tate interview. Just thought I'd play a snippet of it. I fully encourage you guys to go watch the full thing on Rumble. You will see what I'm talking about, okay? If you think I'm exaggerating, no, Vince. Surely the journalists who were after Trump for so many years, they must be 10 times worse. This, like I said, you watch this full thing, you watch her, really gives it a run for its money. So I encourage you to go check it out and see what a disgrace the international news media seems to be here. But all right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so let's see. It is 10:42. I mean, we'll go for like another 40 or so minutes. Let me see. Are there any more stories I wanted to talk about tonight? We could probably do super chats and Q&A throughout the night, but let me check Twitter maybe like one last time and make sure nothing else is going on that I missed or wanted to talk about. Let's see. Do you like how, not, see, tonight, because we had to like do the first show in the beginning, which by the way, big viewership on that. Really appreciate that. You know, you guys are now seeing how I actually do the show, okay? People always ask me this, Vince, where do you get your news? The answer is literally Twitter, okay? Twitter is a powerful thing, which is why you hate to see it censoring speech, because that's where you find the stories. That's actually the most effective way to find news these days. Obviously vet it, obviously make sure it's not satire, but it is true. Let's see, anything trending that's interesting? No, just what is a woman? Mississippi, Rumble. Okay, so I think we're good. I think we're basically all caught up there on the news. All right, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, then we will go to the Super Chat Q&A portion of the show. In fact, if you want, we could maybe even do call-ins. I don't know, maybe. But we'll do Super Chats and Q&A for now. So if you guys have questions or comments that you want read and answered, any thoughts on anything, questions for me, Super Chats are open. I'll, as usual, take a few maybe from the regular chats. But let's see and check it out here. I'm Aaron Mann says, not even asking questions, just accusing him of crap. Exactly. I'm telling you guys, and by the way, I know a lot of you guys don't like Andrew Tate or whatever. I encourage you to watch this interview and just see his side of the story, because you will, I'm just saying, you will leave feeling a lot more sympathetic than perhaps you did before, because if not even because of him, because of the fact that the BBC really is that terrible. Unfortunate name, by the way. Unfortunate name. But all right, let's see here what else we got going on. I really think he got thrown in jail for his Greta comment. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is whatever it is, it was certainly a political reason he's been thrown in jail. I mean, let's be real about that, you know? Which is what I've been standing up for, and people don't get it, and they're like, but I don't like Andrew Tate. It's like, it doesn't matter if you like, it doesn't matter if you like Donald Trump, right? I know there's conservatives that don't like Donald Trump. Does it mean they shouldn't stand up for Donald Trump when the system's after him? Does it mean they shouldn't stand up for whoever, right? Like other examples, I don't know. Who can I think of? I don't know. I just know there's plenty of conservatives in the past few years that I don't really am not the biggest fan of personally, but then I see them, I see what happens, the system's after them, and I'm like, oh, well, that's not good, right? Same thing with Andrew Tate, and I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, you can really see it from this whole situation. W for the win says, what's the podcast name? If you go on Rumble, search up Tate Speech, I believe it'll be there. It'll be there. Unless you're asking mine, which is just the Vince Dow Show. So let's see here. I'm going to call in just to troll Vince. Well, now I'm definitely not going to do call-ins. Just kidding. All right, do you guys want to do call-ins then? We need some more super chats if we want to do call-ins, though. Okay, come on, guys. Come on, guys. All right. But let's see here. So let me take some questions here first. Sneeko is decent, lol, not bad, but not my favorite. Actually, speaking of that, I did at some point. I mean, I could do it. I'm going to redo this at some point, but I did at some point want to talk about this. So I guess I'll do it. So, let me not show my DMs. That's probably not good. Other people's privacy. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. All right. So, on that topic, I will say I did tweet this out today. And I wanted to talk about this at some point, which again, I'll do a segment about this, but I did want to probably, since we have time, I'll just mention it because we're just chilling on the stream here. I know that like Tate himself is the architect of this argument, which I will point out. You guys act like, oh, you never disagree with it. Yes, I disagree with this. But I guess I will specifically frame this to Sneeko because he's an American and I'm an American, and I wanted to point this out because I've heard this a lot, not just from him, but from a lot of different people recently in the red pill space about how, there's this new trend in the red pill world where a lot of them are becoming Muslim, right? And the justification I very often hear, and I'm not singling out Sneeko, but I'm going to point him out as an example here just because, like I said, he's American, I'm American. We can discuss his specific arguments for that reason. The argument I hear very often is like, well, I'm going to become a Muslim because Christianity is weak. And Christianity is weak because when you so often look in the West and look in a country like America, look at a country like the UK, all the Christians, this is supposed to be the Christian world, right? And yet you look around and the Christians, they never defend their values. They cave to the woke all the time. Next thing you know, there's a pride flag at a church. And it's really a matter of, well, but then I look at the Middle East, right? I look at UAE, I look at Dubai, and they don't put up with any of these nonsense. And their countries are not woke, and they defend their faith and all that different type of stuff, right? This is the argument I so often hear. Islam must be true because the Muslim world is doing a better job than the Christian world at fighting the woke. Okay, so I'm going to respond very briefly to that argument. Like I said, I'll probably do this as a formal segment at some point on the stream, but just want to bring this up since we have the time and we're on the topic. I put this out today. I said, question for the red pill crowd who very often says this. Because you guys always claim, right? Christians are soft. It's Muslims who fight the woke. Okay, so I will first of all concede on that point. It is true. A lot of Christians in the West are soft. They suck on this. A lot of churches, very feminized. They won't stand up for anything. They don't stand up for their faith. There's this whole don't get involved in politics, separation of church and state, all these lies where, yes, I 100% agree. I will take all those criticisms on the chin about the failure of Western Christians to stand up against the woke. 100% agree with you guys. But on that topic, I will first of all point out like 3 different things, okay? Number 1, just because in your eyes Christians in the West aren't doing a good job at the moment does not mean Christianity is true or untrue. Right? Because I hear this so often. Well, if the Muslim world is doing better, then the Muslims should be right? But that just doesn't make any sense. No, Islam versus Christianity, either it's right or it's wrong because it's the objective truth, right? Either this is the nature of God or that's the nature of God. This is who God is, that's who God is. That doesn't change based on the civilization that's currently more successful. Just because the ambassadors of one faith are not doing as good of a job as the other faith does not change objective truth, right? And so that's what I would first and foremost say. And before you say, well, no, but it does, then I would say to that, then did Islam suddenly become true in your eyes in like the 21st century? Because historically, the past few centuries, it's been the Christian world absolutely dominating the Muslim world, okay? So I could look at you in the 1800s, or you know what, let's say early 1920s. The Ottoman Empire has fallen. It's been totally divided up and conquered and colonized by Western Christian powers. and the Muslim world is, decaying into third world status and being colonized very often. Meanwhile, the Christian powers are the ones dominating the world, colonizing everything, who control everything. Would you then look at me and say, well, now Christianity is true because it's the winning power in the world at the moment, right? Because if God is true, then God is eternally true. He doesn't change. So it's a silly argument because, okay, was Christianity true in the 1920s, but now Islam is true because in your eyes, at least, the Muslims are winning? That's what I would say, number one. It's a silly reason to say that's the reason I'm Muslim is because I'm because I feel like the Muslim world's doing a better job at the moment. That doesn't change objective truth. Number two, what I would say is it is not blanketly true that the Christian world is bad at standing up to the woke or defending its faith. Sure, in the West, that is true. In the West, I would 100% take all those criticisms on the chin. Not Christianity, but Christians, I should say, are soft. Christians don't do a good job. And yeah, you could say in some regards, a country like UAE, the Middle East, beats us in those regards. However, I would also point out that there are plenty of places around the world today where Christianity is still defended very strong and well. You look at the Eastern Europe, right? You look at a place like Eastern Europe, the Orthodox world, and to some degree that Eastern Catholic world, right, are still 100% standing up strong for their faith. You want to talk about how, Muslims do a good job of not tolerating the woke. Do they tolerate the woke in Eastern Europe? Do they tolerate the woke in a place like Poland? In a place like Hungary? Absolutely not. They do a very good job. And so if you're going to say Christianity is soft in the world, then it's important to point out where. Well, what about Africa, right? I mean, ask the Ugandans. No, but in all seriousness, right? Look at many African countries nowadays that are very religious, defend their faith very strong, defend their faith with all the fervor you claim that Christians don't do. So when you say that Christians are soft and don't stand up for their faith, it's important to point out the perspective of regionalism. Sure, that is true in the West. That is not true in Eastern Europe. That's not true in Africa. That's not even true in the Middle East, right? In the Middle East, many cases, Christians die for their faith. Christians very often are killed, oftentimes by Muslim radicals, right, for their faith. You hear about the martyrdom that happens in Egypt and places like that. So again, I feel like some perspective is necessary. But thirdly, what I would point out is you always say, but look at the Middle East. They stand up to the woke. We don't stand up to the woke. Well, the argument I would make, with it again kept in mind that many places in Eastern Europe and Africa and other places do just fine in standing up to the woke, what I would argue is it's not a Christianity thing, it's a Western thing. It's the fact that the West, because the West has historically been the people in power, right? The West has controlled kind of the global influence for, the 1800s, 1900s, right? All that stuff. The West has been the main target of the left, of the Marxists, of the woke, quote unquote, right? And so on that topic, I would say, okay, so you say Christians in the West are not doing a good job, but you say the Middle East is doing a good job. My question then is, what are Muslims in the West doing? I think this is the number one question that matters. You can say, yes, UAE, cool. I have praised Dubai myself personally for they have their act together. I agree. But, right? What's the state of Muslims in the West? Because again, you say Western Christians don't do a good job. Okay, so what are Muslims doing in the West, right? And as I pointed out today, again, I can only speak for America because I know America, which is why I specifically framed this to Sneeko, because he's also American. Okay. So what are American Muslims doing to fight the woke? Okay? Because when I look at Muslims in this country, okay, you are right that there is a growing movement of Muslims that I notice are becoming more conservative. That is true. Credit to them. But when you look at the statistics, most Muslims in America, I'm pretty sure to a very overwhelming proportion, vote for Democrats. And as a matter of fact, beyond that point, the only Muslim politicians, at least on the federal level, that I can think of in this country are far left progressive Democrats. The only two I can think of, right? Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. That is Western, that's the Western Islamic representation in our government, okay? So if you want to say that Christianity is compromised by the woke in the West, which to an extent I would agree with you, but you say Islam must be true because Muslims do a better job, why is it the case that Muslims in the West are more liberal on average, at least in voting patterns. I don't know what they personally believe. At least in voting patterns are more liberal. And why is it that the only Muslim representation in U.S. government is not just Democrat, it's not just liberal, it is the squad, right? It's the far left progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Again, if you claim Christianity are soft, Christianity caved to the woke, explain the state of Islam in the current United States, right? So I pointed that out. And I went on to here. I said, the argument I always hear is that Islam is right because Muslims don't cave to the woke. And like I said, in the Middle East, sure, you could say that. But also you could point to Christian parts in the world where that's the same scenario. So really, we have to understand it's a Western thing. I did go on to say this. I said, is there an alliance brewing potentially? Which I do acknowledge, right? Because I'm starting to see this growing movement of Muslims, they're realizing, oh, wow, this stuff doesn't align with my values. And I'm seeing some protests, right? And so I pointed that out. I said, I'm glad to see that some of them are now joining in the fight, because we have talked about this before on this channel, I think. Dearborn, Michigan, in the lead up to the 2022 elections, you saw there were a bunch of Orthodox Muslims out there protesting against the woke stuff at the school board. So I will give credit, right? There is something perhaps of a realignment happening with Muslims in America. And that's good to see. And I'm like, yeah, we disagree on a lot. I don't think we're exactly friends as faiths, right? But I don't think we're enemies either. I do think there's some potential to where Christians and Muslims can work together to fight against the woke. I will acknowledge that part. But again, to pretend as if it's like you guys who are really standing up to the woke and Christians as a whole are not, that's just not true. And you can say, but look at this one school board in Michigan. Okay, but where in the rest of the country, the only opposition you ever hear to the woke stuff, to the trans stuff in the schools, all of that, who is leading it primarily in every single circumstance? It is Christians. It is Christian Americans, right? Again, no hate specifically to Muslim Americans. And like I said, you guys, in my opinion, are welcome to come and protest this stuff with us. But when you look at the actual protests that are happening, in most cases, it's not conservative Muslims in this country, it's conservative Christians. And when you look at the voting demographics, it is not Muslims holding the line culturally for the Christians. It's the other way around. Because most Muslims in the United States, I'm pretty sure, even including Dearborn, Michigan, who may have seen a slight shift to the right, still vote Democrat. They still vote, right, for the liberal party in our country. So I look at a scenario like that and I say, well, if you think Christianity is compromised in the West, I think Muslims have a lot of explaining to do, is all I would say on that topic, right? And people could point out, I know some people are going to say this, let me just address this counter argument. You may say, but Vince, that's because there's less Muslims in America than Christians, blah, 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 right? The Muslims are whatever percent, right? Very small percentage. I get that. I understand that. But also, I would point out the proportions. Fine. You want to say, well, you see more Christians protesting because there's not a lot of Muslims in America. Fine. But to a degree, very rarely, although I am starting to see it, so props to you guys, very rarely, though, do I see Muslims go out and join us in these fights in the United States as a general rule. But beyond that, sure, even if you want to say it's a proportion thing, it's a ratio thing, still, again, I will point out, of the Muslims that are in this country, majority of them vote Democrat. The only representatives in our government are very far left. So that, that's what I would say. That's what I would say. Okay. And like I said, I may repeat this segment at some point for a proper segment, but that's just what I wanted to point out. And it is true. You hear this talking point very often. So, anyways, all right, let's go fully here to Super Chats. Dirty Mike for $2 says, what do you need to do to interview Alien Girl 111? I don't know, Dirty Mike. You might have to bribe me. There. But all right, guys. Okay, we'll go to 11:30. We'll do a longer stream. It's all good. We're having fun. We're chilling. So we may do call-ins in the last 15 minutes or so, but for now, let me take questions from chat. So again, guys, questions or comments that you want read and answered, feel free to send them in via these super chats. Hold on, let me post the Streamlabs link actually in the live chat. I forgot to do that again. 2 straight streams. Not good at this. Okay, here we go. Donate super chat the show here. All right, here we go. Boom. All right, there we go. All right, there's a Streamlabs link if you want to donate. Obviously, I read the ones on here on YouTube too. But on Streamlabs, we have text to speech. like this. Can YouTube do this? Wait, let's just do it.
Sheena Beanie donated $5. It didn't even apply to the American Indians because they were under the jurisdiction
That's
of
from
the tribal
yesterday, but I
law.
was just showing
We
you an
literally
example.
had to write a new law to include American Indians. Illegals are under the jurisdiction of wherever they came from.
Okay. I was just showing you an example. So yeah, if you want TTS, Streamlabs is obviously open. Why are neocons so loud? Are they that arrogant, egotistical? Yes, they are. They are that arrogant and egotistical. And you know what I will say also, listen, I will defend the Muslim world in this regard, that I do not think they are the primary enemy right now of Western civilization. That's not to say we're friends, because I think, we kind of fought some big wars against each other. But, with that said, right, I look at them now, I don't see them as the enemy, right? That's a very outdated neocon, those radical Muslims, blah, 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 this and that. No, it's like, that's first of all, it's their part of the world, but to the extent to which they want to ally with us in fighting against the woke mind virus, I mean, that's obviously perfectly welcome. And so I will say to that regard, yeah, it is a very outdated neocon talking point to pretend like Islam is the real problem, right? It was what we're like, we need to fight against radical Islam. But with that said, it's still kind of ridiculous to say, oh, well, like, they're actually in America doing a better job than the Christians. That's just not real. But let's see here. Ugandan Knuckles. I haven't heard about Ugandan Knuckles in so many years. Michael says, if you'll praise Dubai, you should also praise Singapore. I also do praise Singapore, yes. I have a whole segment on one of my shows. I forget which one it is. I have a whole thing where I went into this. Because I tweeted out both of those things once. I said, what's stopping America from being like Dubai, and what's stopping America from being like Singapore? And people came to me saying, but they're like authoritarian dictatorships and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe the rules there are a little stricter than here, but it's not exactly China. It's not exactly North Korea, right? And I was saying this, and then I pointed out, I think that very often is American and Western cope, right? Because we want to claim superiority, right? You know what I'm saying? And so we have this idea, it's an arrogant idea that like, hey, here we are in America and UK and Canada, like constantly getting shot at and stabbed in our cities. And it's a complete nightmare and all of this stuff. But, I look at a city that's completely normal and functioning and advanced and in the future. And, something must be wrong with it, right? You know what I'm saying? Something must be wrong. Dubai, it must be authoritarian. Singapore, it must be like North Korea. It's like, no, yeah, you're right. You can't chew gum. I get it. It's a little stricter. I'm not saying to adopt every single law, but I think to a degree it's kind of a Western cope that we use because we just don't want to admit that our society is failing, and we don't want to admit that in some ways other countries do things better than us, So that's the way I see it. Singapore is great. Love Singapore. Yeah, I want to go to Singapore at some point. I want to go. I need to take some international vacations at some point. But do you have to be V'd? Do you have to be V'd to be in Singapore to go there? You know what I mean? Cause I am not. So that might stop me. I think about it from a lot of international travel. So, Vince, thoughts on the pistol brace ban? America has 40 million new felons. Yeah, it's obviously I hate it. They're taking away our Second Amendment. So true. They are, though. Let's see here. Lionel's Romans 5:8 says, you're not answering the question of how. You think I'm that? You think I'm that? You think I've never been in middle school before, Lionel's? You're asking a middle school question. Did you just find this out? Did you just find this out because you were homeschooled and you like just found the joke? I'm wise to your jokes. I've been using that. Sorry, friends of mine were using that joke in like 6th grade. I'm wise to your tactics. I truly am. When's the Italian boy summer vacation to Rome? We should do that. I would like to go to Rome, but How much does it even cost to fly internationally? I've not even looked at this. Actually, fun fact, I've never been out of the country. I don't even have a passport, fun fact. So you can laugh at me for that. Before you attack me though, I will say I've seen way more of my own country than most people will ever see, okay? So you're uncultured. I have these cousins, okay? Because they go on like timeshare vacations to Cancun in Japan. They always used to call me. They said I'd be like uncultured. They're like, you're uncultured because you've never been out of the I'm like, dude, you haven't even seen your own country. You've never left like California. But I went to Cancun and sat on a beach that spoke American, was an American resort. I am more cultured than you. I'm like, bro, you will get more of a culture shock going from like California to, I don't know, Montana, which I have been before, that very trip. You will get more out of that than you will going to an American resort in Cancun. What is that? What culture do you absorb from that? Can you explain that to me? How does going to a timeshare in an American place? I don't know. It's funny though. I remember growing up, we always used to like get in an argument about this, and I'm like, no, I'm more cultured because I've actually seen more of the country than you. But no, unironically, I do want to visit other places outside of the country, but I do need to get a passport because I literally don't have a passport because I've never left the country. No joke. Where's the first place we should go when we leave the country? This is the question. Could go to Europe. Or we could go to Asia. I don't particularly plan on going to Africa. I will say that's not really in the cards. Because I don't know if I want to catch tropical diseases and get destroyed by mosquitoes. Although a safari would be interesting, but I don't know if we want to make that trip. But we could do like the European tour. I kind of want to see London, even though it's so dangerous. Part of me wants to see it. We'll go meet Mizzy. We'll do a nice civilized interview with Mizzy. You know, we'll sit down. Mizzy, why are you such a dork? Mizzy, why are you a terror? Why aren't you in jail? He'd be like, oh man, are you being racist, man? Man, I'm leading a movement, man. So we could do that. I do want to see Singapore. That is a thing. I do kind of want to see Japan. Go to the homeland, bro. Okay, here's my problem with the homeland, okay? Being Vietnam. I'm kind of scared to go there. I can't lie. I'm kind of scared to go there because the last few people I know who have been there have all gotten very sick from random tropical diseases, okay? So my grandma, true story, my grandma almost freaking died because she caught this rare strand of bacterial pneumonia that, I kid you not, she might be patient zero because they've never even seen it before. They could have probably done a biopsy to really figure out what it was, but it was none of the common forms. It was some like radical tropical disease. I kid you not. Okay, so she got that. She almost died. This was a few years ago. I kid you not. Almost dropped dead from that. But then also, you know, I have a friend who's like my age. He went there and he got feverishly sick from the food or whatever it is for a week. Okay, so I'm like, I don't really want to go there. I don't really want to catch tropical diseases. You know, I'm a little bit traumatized by my friends' records on their sanitation status. You know what I mean? So I'll see. I mean, it'd be interesting. But it's not really on the top of my list. I can't lie. It really isn't. I really more so want to see Singapore, Japan, Korea in Asia. You know? Also Macau. I do want to see Macau. That would be so cool. But I don't know if I'm allowed in China, so probably not. I actually wonder this. Do you guys, because it's like Hong Kong. It's off-land China. But I don't think I'd be allowed in that country. I don't think I am. Because they know everything. They obviously, they spy. And I've done an interview. I did an interview like twice with anti-CCP networks. Like even, it was like 2 when I was younger actually. But I did 2. And I bet you they know. I might land in, if I ever went to Hong Kong, I'd probably land and get Andrew Tated at the freaking airport. The Matrix has attacked me. You know, this is so true. Vince, look at the Senate debt vote. Oh, you want me to look at how our country either way is destroyed? All right. They passed the debt ceiling bill. Yeah, what do you know? So they're going to raise the debt ceiling for no compromise, and we're just going to have this debate again in the year. Yeah, we know. Is that even news? The country's screwed. But yeah, it is true. This is as of 9 minutes ago. They've passed the debt ceiling bill. AKA, the country is royally screwed. Yeah, there it is. Okay, we'll do call-ins, chat. We'll do call-ins for like 20 minutes, and we'll call it a night here. So let me open up a Zoom call, and we'll get this set up. So give me a second. Let's see here. But you know what? I need to think of a question for the callers, because every time I do call-ins, people are like, hey. And I tell you guys to come with questions, but you never do. So I saw Red Eagle do this. I feel like I have to ask the question, and you respond. So maybe I should do that. Maybe I should figure out a question to ask you guys. We could do, what did you think of the Trump town hall? How was your day? Where should I go on vacation? I don't know. Fine. We'll just do Q&A style, I guess. I don't know. Fine. I guess we could do that. Just don't come in being awkward and be like, All right, hold on. Oop. Okay. All right, I'm making the Zoom room. So you're by the way, it's just audio, so your video won't be on, so don't even worry about that. It's just that's where I share the audio from. But okay. All right, I'm making it. Post the link here. And boom. Okay. All right, I'm posting the link. Call in. Okay. Vince, look at how many Democrats versus Republicans voted on the bill. Sure, let's take a look. 63 to 36. How many were Democrats? How many were Republicans? Lindsey Graham voted for it. That is not unexpected at all. I don't know. I'm trying to see. I can't. Can you just put the number in? Can you just tell me the number? I can't find it in this article. That's probably why. It's from the New York Times. No wonder. But that'd be greatly appreciated. All right, but there's the call-in link. Hold on. Let me add the audio though, because I'll have to add that one too. Properties. Let me see. Zoom. Okay. All right. It should be good. Audio should be here. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Okay. We got our first caller. Oh, he just disappeared. I don't know what happened. He was just there. Okay, here we go. Gus Fadden. Okay, all right, let's bring in Gus Fadden, chat. Yo, the homie Gus. Let's go. Gus Fadden, you are live on the Vince Dow Show. What's up, man?
Yo, what is going on, homie? We are straight chilling. You already know, man.
Real.
So true.
How you been? This is a guy I've actually met in real life. So how you been?
Dude, I've been absolutely phenomenal. School's going absolutely great. Military's going great. Politics going great. Just everything.
Yeah, I saw you. You had the buzz cut. Looking like a military Chad. Don't you go to school with Dominator? I've heard that.
Yes, I do actually. I've run into him at the dining hall and College Republicans. It's funny. What's
the guy like in real life?
I'll tell you this. He's just a nice guy in general. Like you wouldn't ever want to mess with him. He's just too sweet.
Top D? Top Dominator?
Yeah, top D, actually. Yeah, so true. You got Top G here. You got Top V running the stream right now. It's so true.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Did you have let's see. What should we do? How should we do this? All right. What did you think of the town hall tonight? We'll do that.
Oh, the town hall. I was watching a little bit of it, but honestly, I was getting a little bored just because it's like, it's kind of like watching the Trump rallies. It's like once you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all. Once you've seen him answer the questions one time, you've seen him answer it every time because it's just the same talking points over and over. And that's the same with every politician, but particularly Trump. It's like the stump speech. It's like the first time you hear it, oh my gosh, this is amazing, epic, own the libs, destroyed, Sean Hannity, MAGA patriots, and then it's like, okay, after that, all right. I mean, I love Trump. Don't get me wrong, and I'm voting for him in the primary.
Okay, we'll ask a better question then. I'll say, what do you think about the sort of current situation in Iowa? right? So, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, they've been having these different competitions. Some people are saying that was an optical disaster you canceled because of the tornado. They're saying, Ron DeSantis, your vest looks stupid. What's sort of your read on Iowa right now?
So my read on Iowa is actually probably a lot more unique than what people are even suggesting right now. And I actually think that, DeSantis in general in the primary isn't going to win. And I'd be hard pressed to find a single state other than Florida that he even has a chance to come close to winning. But what I will say about Iowa specifically is that I think that'll be, in terms of the share of the vote Trump gets, it'll probably be his worst just because it'll be the first. So maybe he'll get high 40s, low 50s in a worst case scenario. But I think that someone that's actually going to give Pence a run for his money for second place of all people, and many people might laugh at this, but I think Mike Pence, simply because Iowa is home to that Midwestern, very Christian, very conservative demographic.
Well, he's from Indiana. That's true. Yeah,
exactly. Huckabee won the Iowa caucus in 2008. Ted Cruz won it in 2016. So I think Pence is actually I think that'll give him some momentum, is just the fact that he'll do a good third place in Iowa, give DeSantis a run for his money, but then his campaign will falter after that. But it's going to call into question DeSantis's position as the legitimate opposition to Trump. It's not going to last long, but that's how I see it right now with Iowa.
Yeah, I think New Hampshire is going to be where Trump really starts to take a big noticeable lead. I will say though, maybe this is a hot take with some people. I think I would probably favor Trump here in Florida, to be totally honest with you. I think if anything, DeSantis might have a better chance of winning a state like a Georgia than he would Florida, because
and definitely. I think Georgia's probably the only state right now where I would say I don't if we get to a point where it's a head-to-head for the entire cycle, I would say Georgia's off the table for Trump. And I'm trying to think when Florida usually is in the cycle.
I'm not sure. Oh no, I'm pretty sure it's a later primary, right? Because
it's usually in mid-March, so it's usually a month in. So yeah, it's early middle, 30-40% of the way through. So I would say probably what's going to happen is after South Carolina, Scott and Haley will drop out because they're going to get embarrassed there. And they'll probably be the only two people left anyway at that point, other than Trump and DeSantis. Then Trump and DeSantis, they'll battle it out for the rest of the campaign, and then I don't know what's going to happen from there. But DeSantis isn't going to win. Maybe he'll take it all the way to convention. Maybe he won't. It just depends how well he does. I don't see a reality, though, where DeSantis gets any more than 30-35% of the total primary electorate. And even then, that's being generous.
My thing with Florida, and the reason I actually think Trump's going to win the state, is yes, DeSantis is the governor. That'll help him. But DeSantis's main appeal is more so to the people who are the suburban types, that type of whatnot, right? And Florida, I just noticed that it is actually Trump country here. And they love DeSantis too, obviously, for certain reasons. But I think when it comes down to it, it is Trump country. That sort of Florida man crazy stereotype. Who's Florida man gonna vote for? Is he a DeSantis civility, electable guy, or is he raw Donald Trump? And I think that actually is true. You look at Miami-Dade, they seem to like Trump a lot more than DeSantis, you know what I mean? So I actually, and again, that's probably a hot take with some people, and we'll see. I might get totally embarrassed, but I actually think that if it were to happen, at least tomorrow, Donald Trump would probably win this state. I would argue by actually a convincing amount over our actual governor here, but it'd be interesting to see. Who knows?
I think it'll be close in Florida at least, but I think Trump would edge it out personally. That's where my head is.
For sure. All right, Gus, thanks for calling in. I'll move on to some other people here. Yeah, good talking to you. Good luck with everything, for sure.
The luck isn't real. Only God is real.
Okay, a blessing with everything. There you go.
So true. All
right, bye-bye, man. Bye-bye. All right, so let's see. Who should we bring in next? We'll bring in Dollar for Dollar since we have a vendetta over something, so we have to argue. Here you go. All right, Dollar for Dollar. He's connecting to audio and can't hear you yet. Okay, make sure you're connected to the audio. But it is true. Yeah, it is true. That might be a hot take with some people, and I'm no electoral analyst, so maybe I'll get totally embarrassed. I would just say I have an instinct that Donald Trump is favored here in Ron DeSantis' state.
Hello?
Okay, what's up, man?
How's it going?
All right, I'm good. Dollar for Dollar. You're live on the Vince Dow Show.
Nice.
So, we had something we were going to argue about. By the way, get the stream to 100 likes. It was Tom Brady, wasn't it? You said Tom Brady is not the GOAT. Okay.
Yeah, I stand by that.
Who did you say was better than Brady?
Drew Brees.
Okay, well, then let's hear the argument.
Well, basically, Drew Brees came into the league a year after Brady, and he left like 2 years before. And all the records he had a bunch of records. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but he had a lot of records. I'm a Saints fan. And Brady, just like after he retired, just finally got around to breaking them. And I'm not going to say Tom Brady's a bad player. I think he's the greatest team player of all time. But like, obviously football is a team sport, and he has the most rings, but I don't think that's like the best to calculate like a player's like greatness, because like Bill Russell in the NBA. What?
Here's my thing. I think, yes, Tom Brady is not the most athletic quarterback of all time in any regard. Not the most talented. I think Aaron Rodgers in his prime was more talented. Drew Brees maybe, right? There's a lot of people out there that are more talented than Brady. My whole thing is this. Fourth quarter in the Super Bowl, I'm down 4 points, let's say. There is not a quarterback in the history of football I'd rather have to take me down the field than Tom Brady. Because that to me is what really measures greatness, right? And I think when you look at his all-time rings, championships, all that, you could argue it's circumstance, he got lucky or whatever. But I think, as you see, it's not just a Belichick thing, because Belichick hasn't won anything since Brady left, and Brady actually won at least one Super Bowl without Belichick, right, in Tampa Bay. So I really do think that it is that Tom Brady is that great. He is a winner, and, he may not be the most athletic, but when you think about all-time greats, he's the only guy I'd rather put in the Super Bowl in that moment. He has the most, and you could argue that circumstance, but it's the same thing with, like, presidents, for instance. It's like, Calvin Coolidge was, like, probably, issue-wise one of the best, but no one talks about him because he was not put in the circumstance. It's like, to a degree, had someone else been in that situation, maybe they do even better than Brady. But that's all hypotheticals and what ifs, and I think it's pretty indisputable Brady is the best of all time for like objective reasons. Like, you can't really say otherwise,
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point to make. But I think if you put like any other quarterback in Brady's team, Brady's had the best team ever. He had like best receivers ever. He had Gronk, Randy Moss. He has the best, historically the best defense.
Hold on, though. But yes, it is true. It's panned out to be very good. But none of the receivers Brady historically had without, I know he had someone for a while, right, in the early days. But a lot of those, like, white receivers, they were not very highly sought after. They're not highly drafted. That's a big thing with Belichick, is he's known for. It's like he takes all these random receivers from small-time schools who are not heavily coveted in the draft and turned them into something. And so I don't know if you could really say that. Whereas you look at, like, look at the Super Bowl against the Falcons. Like, I would say Matt Ryan had better receivers than Brady at the time, on his side. He had freaking Julio Jones and all those guys. Yeah. And it's still a matter of, I think, Brady.
That's the only Super Bowl I like Tom Brady in, because I'm a Saints fan. I hate the Falcons so much.
Yeah. But I think I would say I think I've seen quite a few Super Bowls where the Patriots seemed like the under-talented team. Like, the other team actually had more talent, right, and should have won. And it was like Brady's clutch that made the difference. Okay, I think the Seahawks that one year were arguably better. I think the Falcons were better. The Eagles, the one year they beat them, were way better. But still, the Patriots almost won in the end, right? But you know what I mean?
Yeah, Eli Manning is like Tom Brady's kryptonite.
True.
He's the better Manning in my opinion.
But Drew never even got there, though. That's the thing.
Drew won in 2010.
Well, what I mean is Drew never got into like that many Super Bowls where he could lose a few. Is what I really more so mean.
Okay. Well, yeah. He's had terrible receivers too. He's playing with Walmart cashiers his whole career.
Brady?
No, Breeze.
Well, I would say the same thing about Brady then, though, because like, where did Julian Edelman go to school? Isn't he from like Houston or something?
I think so.
Kent State. Okay, Julian Edelman, Kent State. Let's see. Rob Gronkowski from Arizona. Okay, fine. Was on Amendola.
Amendola went to Texas Tech.
Okay, so that's not terrible, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of random ones that are just from
Bronco, Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, Randy Moss. I don't remember where he went to school.
Well, Randy Moss obviously he did have him, but didn't Brady have him when he was like a lot older? From what I know.
Well, they didn't have him that long.
Yeah. But I mean, Randy Moss, that's like but yeah, he went to Florida State and Marshall, I guess. He transferred from Marshall.
Randy Moss's son was on the LSU's national championship team.
That is true. Didn't he play like tight end or something?
Yeah, he was a tight end. I don't think he ever made it to the league though.
Yeah.
LSU has that new tight end, that freshman Mason Taylor.
Yeah, he's the one who beat Bama.
Yeah, that caught that 2-point conversion
that I saw in real life and then stormed the field.
You went to their good game.
Turf. Yeah.
You went to their upset game. I went to the game when they played against A&M. I drove there.
That's an L. We hate
I know. I was excited. I was about to say, 2-loss LSU is about to go to the Final Four, and then they get destroyed by Texas Tech on Coach Fisher's last game.
Real. All right. Well, thanks for calling in, man. Let me take
no
one or two more callers, and then we'll call it a night here. Thank you.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you as always. All right. Who should let's see. Should we add Walter White? I'm very curious.
Walter.
He has the most interesting name. Let's see Walter White. All right, Walter White. You were live on the Vince Dow show.
Yo, Vince.
What's up?
Not much. What about you?
I'm good.
I'm all right. I'm chilling. I was looking at the debt bill. It's bad, dude.
Well, tell me more about it. Like I've been following it minimally, but I just know it's bad.
So
any particular details?
Well, the Senate vote is the biggest thing. So 46 Democrats voted for it.
Mm-hmm.
Only 17 Republicans voted for it.
Which that is 17. Yeah.
That's how bad the bill is. Like McCarthy just embarrassed himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got to go.
And you know what else I think about it there is Lindsey Graham. I mean, Lindsey Graham won't stop virtue signaling about the debt. He goes on about how we need to cut Social Security. And yet this terrible bill that does nothing, to my understanding, he did vote for it, right? He's on the list.
Yeah.
So he's got... Talking about McCarthy, yeah, I'm pissed at him, but Lindsey Graham, I genuinely, I think he actually works for the other side, like genuinely.
I know, yeah, it seems like it. But the McCarthy, whoever negotiated it in the House got absolutely rolled, because you look at the Senate vote, that's a Democrat bill. If you look at the results of that, more Republicans voted no than yes, and the opposite's true for the Democrats. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real.
It's a mess. This is why I'm not a registered Republican, because all they do is cave. All they do is just cave and cave and cave, and that's all they're good for.
Real. All right. Any other thoughts, man?
Not much. I mean, I'm just kind of venting about the debt. I was watching it in another stream where people were, just watching.
We're so screwed, dude. We're just.
I know. It's a mess.
Here's what I'll say to kids our age. I think you can tell where the value of your money is headed, right? It is going to be very important in the next few years, if it is possible. You need to get as many assets as you can. Okay, listen to that carefully. Which means real estate, gold, things like that. Safe investments, whatever you can hold on to, because where we're headed in this country with debt, with global reserve currency, that's another big thing, and just general inflation because of Brandon world, right? We're headed to the point where what happens when the money becomes meaningless is all the poor people who don't own a lot of things. They don't own property. They don't own assets, but they just have dollars. They all get screwed. And the people who did not invest heavily in assets, they all get screwed. But the people who will have the assets, your homes, your gold, your stable things, right? Those are all going to be the people who become very, very rich, and they're going to, be the serfs over. They're going to be the lords over the serfs who own nothing, right? That's what it's going to be all about. That's the kind of economic battle of the future. And so I would say to young people out there, I mean, like, I don't have the money really at the moment to own assets, and I think a lot of us don't. But keep that on your mind. Like, as fast as you can get money, get money, first of all, in the next few years. I don't care anyone who says, oh, you're just being like materialistic or whatever it is. No, it's important because if you want a future, like you're going to need it. You're going to need to get money and you're going to need to try to accrue assets, right? Because that's going to be really important in the future. But yeah,
right.
Walter,
that's exactly
go ahead,
right.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I will say to everyone watching, maybe if you want to change something, go call some representatives tomorrow or whenever in the Freedom Caucus and tell them to vacate the chair. Tell them that this is a mess, because we're sick of being rolled over.
Figuratively speaking. Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, just call them, tell them to vacate the chair,
yeah.
And just hopefully we could get some change in leadership in Washington, so that way we could get some representation, real representation, and not whatever mess we have now. And exactly what you said is right about acquiring assets, because right now, yeah, it doesn't look like we're heading for the best economy in the world. So,
yep, definitely
that's great.
All right, thank you, Walter White, for calling in. We'll take one more guest here.
All right,
thanks
thank
for
you,
coming
Vince.
in. Yep, appreciate it. You too. Okay, we'll take Wasser as the last caller. Okay, Chad, this is gonna be the last caller. So here we go. By the way, get the stream to 100 likes, and as usual, you want to super chat. It's greatly appreciated. Yo, look at it. You guys can't see it, but he has a Doge that's buff, and it's holding a monster, and it's moving up and down. Whoa! I wish you guys could see this. I should share.
You're damn fucking right, I does, bud.
Real. Is this who I'm talking to, the Doge?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like people should see this. Hold on. Let me try to
go for it.
Let me try to share the screen so you can actually see what I'm
let
talking
me
about
mute
here.
your stream side because it's freaking me out.
All right.
It's triggering my autism here.
So true.
Yeah,
okay, let's see.
It's a pretty simple plug-in for OBS that I ran.
Oh yeah, the virtual camera or whatever.
Yeah, for virtual camera as well as
I have to do it on the display capture.
What was it called? Pull it up here on OBS.
Second.
The filter.
Okay.
But there it is.
That's where he's talking to. Look at this guy.
Yeah. So yeah, the filter's called Move Transition by XL Dro. Yeah, it's just something cute, just for fun. I gotta adjust some of the settings though, because he's shaking too much. I don't like it. I don't like how much he's shaking.
I thought you're shaking him manually.
No, I'm not. This is all based on the mic. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a pretty simple.
We should have you be the co-host with this thing. This is like it'll be iconic.
I have some naughty opinions, and I would love to join you every now and then.
Real. I mean, don't break our TOS, but I mean.
No, don't worry, bro. I won't want you getting that.
Look at this, guys. You guys think this guy should be the? You know what we should do actually? Wait, hold on. I can put you on like the.
Are you gonna send me his background?
The guest cam. Wait, I have the guest cam here somewhere. Let me see. Where is it? Yeah. Hold on. I can't hear you. Give me a second. I have to add it in. Let's see. Application audio capture. Zoom. Hold on. Let me make a new one. I'll just add Zoom. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Hello. Let me see. Hold on. We can't hear you. Oh, I'd have to. Okay. There we go. All right. We should be able to hear you now.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. Let me add your.
Yeah. Great.
There we go.
My gym membership.
Boom! Look at these producing skills. Look at these producing skills.
Absolutely fantastic. Look at this guy.
Wow. They should hire me. You know, some network should hire me. I'll be the freaking producer and host.
Gotta be careful with some of these hosts though, because
that is my thing though. Is that I know one day I'm gonna have to like capitulate and pay a producer, and I'm like, I've learned how to do all this stuff. I'd rather just produce a show myself, because I remember when I was first starting the show, I was like, how are you gonna produce it yourself? It was a big challenge, because I'm like, you're gonna be so distracted. You gotta talk and do the stuff. But now I'm so used to it, I don't ever want to hire a producer. I want to do this
it just comes
myself.
Secondhand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar thing with my job. I'm a CNC operator, and I am so paranoid about like all the different little settings, because there's a lot to deal with the CNC. Mm-hmm. You know, I've got the different drill bits, I've got the different suction levels, which sucked today because one of the morning guys forgot to turn on the the second vacuum, we need at least 2 to not be losing like an entire sheet of parts. But yeah, it's interesting because just as you go about your day, you know, doing these normal things, it becomes secondhand. It becomes second nature.
Yep. Which is why the Doge is so buff. Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Doge.
absolutely.
For sure.
Well, I've got this Doge. I've also got this cute little orc that I did, but I couldn't quite get that one working the way I wanted.
Well, that's good. I think the Doge is highly entertaining.
Oh yeah, lots of fun. I kind of wanted to talk to you about I'm really big into guns. That's what I was talking about in some of your chat there. 3D printed guns. How much do you know about it?
Not a lot. I've heard they don't work that well. That's what I've heard. But maybe the technology has changed.
Entirely incorrect. I have a 3D printed AR sitting right behind me. I have one.
Let me just say, don't do anything illegal. Okay, don't do anything illegal. Okay, it's
once again
3D printed in GTA. In GTA.
No. So home manufacturing of firearms is legal throughout the entire United States, depending on a couple of cucked states.
Okay.
You can get in trouble with distribution with intent as a business. Okay. However, if it's just me with my
let me just say for the purposes of YouTube, you are confirming that everything you're talking about on the stream is to the best of your knowledge within the legal jurisdictions of where you live, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I'm not going to show anything or tell you what websites you can look up. The catalog, definitely don't. That's awful. Don't. Absolutely awful.
Yes.
GAT. But yeah, no. So 3D printed firearms work fantastic. I have a AR, 2 ARs actually. One is and my current project is a 1911 build that operates off of an AR-15 fire control group. So the frame, the part that holds all the mechanics, is 3D printed, and that's typically what has to be serialized and purchased from a federal firearms license. However, you can buy the rest of the parts, like the barrel, the slide, the fire control group, just off eBay. I'm using a slide that's it's a factory second barrel. I just got from some surplus site, and it's a really fun hobby to get into.
And it's legal, of course.
Oh yeah. Well, it's legal until it isn't, like with the pistol braces.
Right.
Oh, what's that? A accessory that you owned for 10 plus years is now all of a sudden illegal without a single signing of a paper or nothing. Nobody votes for anybody in the ATF. You just have to worry. Oh my word. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know much about 3D printed guns. I've always so do you
highly recommend checking it out.
Do you think that they will threaten the future of the big time firearm manufacturers? Or?
Yes and no.
How is it cost wise? Like for you, is it cheaper to 3D print to buy or more expensive?
For smaller parts, like say an angled foregrip for my AR that I got to put that back on. It fell off. It's cheaper. Because the 3D printer that I have, it's an Ender 3 Pro, was $200. The filament was $14, and the files are all free. So, printing an angle foregrip, and then because I do gun stuff, I just have a bunch of like M-Lock kit stuff just lying around. So I take that, and now I have a quality angled foregrip. For me, it cost 30 cents, but if I were to buy it from my friendly local gun store, it would have been $30 to $60.
How much is a 3D printer, and what's the learning curve on a 3D printer?
So for the one that I got, basic, just base end, Creality, $200.
Okay.
And the learning curve is you put it together, you make sure the bed is level, you run a couple of test prints, and from there on, you can just go. So
it's pretty easy then.
Oh, absolutely. It's super easy.
That's very interesting.
You can get a little bit more complicated with resin prints, where the instead of like a spool of filament like thread, you get liquid resin. But that's more of like if you're in a Warhammer or any of that stuff, you want to make little D&D miniatures. That's a little bit more complicated.
That's very interesting.
Oh yeah, man.
I might have to first of all, research the legality of this where I live, but it's an interesting thing to look into for sure.
I remember you mentioning you're in California.
Not right now, no.
Not right now?
I'm in Florida.
Florida? Oh, yeah. You should be fine.
I'll look into it. I'll look.
Yeah,
of course,
because,
I will research the legality of it first.
Right.
YouTube, of course.
Manufacturing is legal so long as you do not have an intent to turn it into a business. Because at that point, the firearms have to be serialized and run through a federal firearms license, an FFL. But doing accessories, those aren't actual firearms; those aren't guns. So what I would like to do, particularly with my brother, is 3D print and do a bunch of stuff for the FGC-9, which is an entirely 3D printed firearm.
Yeah.
It's being used in, is it Myanmar? It's going through a rebellion right now.
They may be. They always are. Always are.
Yeah. A lot of them have shown up there. It's a really cool, 9mm Glock based firearm. It's my brother has one, but I don't like the one that he has because it has a fixed stock, and I like folding stocks because they're just like classy as hell. I really think they're cool.
Yeah, they are cool. They are cool.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, man. Well, thank you for calling in. Appreciate it.
Kind of all I want to talk about. Just ramble about guns for a minute.
Definitely, man.
Because my coworker's getting tired of it.
Okay, here. Let's ask a normie gun question. AK or sure. AR? Why?
I say AR because that's what the majority of Americans use. In an event of shit hit the fan,
yeah,
you're gonna more likely find AR magazines as well as ammo. However, AK is very reliable, and if you have wood furniture on like a blue steel AK, woo, that looks pretty. You can get some very pretty looking AKs.
Yeah.
But if you want to go for like functionality and you don't want you want to get a good baseline rifle, you're just starting off, you think guns are neat, you like playing Call of Duty. If you want to just get a baseline rifle, get an AR-15. Palomino State Armory they've recovered their reputation and they're moderately cheap without sacrificing quality. And then from there you can just build up to as much as you want. I've got a pretty nice one that I've put some time and money into. It's a Franklin Armory lower with a BCM upper, and the coolest part is it has what's called a binary trigger. So with your standard gun, I'm not.
Is that legal? Is that...
So hold on. Let me explain. This is where my gun autism kicks.
This is where your Fed posting comes in.
With a no, shut up. So with a standard semi-automatic weapon, you go. Actually, let me go. Here's my revolver. You go click, it goes bang.
Right.
With a binary trigger, you go click, it goes bang, and when you let go of the trigger, it goes bang again. Because those are two separate actions of the trigger, that is legally not a machine gun.
Interesting.
Yeah. Until, of course, it is.
Well, now that you talked about it, someone's gonna figure out how to do it, but how to ban it.
But at which point, hey, that's fine. I have an AR with a binary trigger, and I'm working on a rocket launcher loading as well from Are We Cool Yet?
In Call of Duty.
That's another thing. A group called Are We Cool Yet has put together working prototypes of rocket launchers. That cool 4-barreled one that Arnold Schwarzenegger has?
Okay, let's stop the Fed posting.
That's all I'm going to say there.
Disavow,
that's all I'm going to say.
Disavow. In video games, of course, right?
Yes, of course.
I'm
talking about
they're going to show you how to do the crafting bench and do it.
Fallout.
All right. Well, thank you, Wasser, for calling in, man. Actually,
absolutely.
I'll answer the AK AR question. I'm all the way on AR, mainly because I think it tells you sort of the difference between a historical American strategy and historical Russian strategy, right? I think the AK is good if you're literally like the Taliban, right? You're a terrorist in the middle of the mountains.
Oh yeah, they're reliable.
They're reliable. You don't know how to clean. You don't really know how to aim either. You kind of just spray. Then the AK is good for that. But I think if you're trying to be precision based, you know what I mean? Then I think the AR, and also I've shot M16s before too. I've shot M16s, fully automatic, aka, yeah. And it's I think if you're trying to be precision, like a proper soldier, and you're actually going to take care of your stuff, I think you can be a lot more accurate. Just from my experience with an AR, like they're easier to be accurate with, and I think if you're not trying to fight a terrorist insurgency with a bunch of people who are just like, oh, then I think it's it
Shalom
works.
alaikum. One of the more difficult things with an AK is you have to do a little bit more work involved with it in order to put scopes and more stuff with it. But if you just want to buy a gun that looks cool that you can hang up on your wall with like nice wood furniture, find an M1 Garand on a local gun trading website.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
It's so pretty. I'm looking at it right now. I accidentally did some damage to it by throwing her in the backseat of my car with a handful of my other guns, and kind of scratched some of the wood. Need to find myself a steam gun and clean that up.
Mm-hmm. But all right, Walsh, thanks for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Yeah, sure,
it.
bud.
See you.
Catch your end.
You too. All right, chat. I think it was a good stream tonight. We'll go for like 5 more minutes. Any last super chats you want to send in? Greatly oh, now look, you're looking at double of me. That's nice. Let me get off of that screen. Or should we keep it on there? Look at this. Double Vince, huh? You thought one of me was loud and obnoxious enough. Look at me. Now we have 2. We're doubles. You're seeing double. You hearing double. What you gonna do? Wait till the day there's triple Vince. They're gonna be like, whoa, we can't get rid of myself. What the? All right. Now, I keep getting harassed. What's going on? All right, I don't know what that was about. All right. Let's see. We'll go till 11:50. Chat. Any last super chats you want to send in? Last call. Send them in now. Mr. Producer. So true. I am Mr. Producer. Okay. Dollar for Dollar says, bro, you look like pizza. How dare you? You look like Drew Brees. I'm Tom Brady. You're just Drew Brees, okay? You're like cornflakes without the milk. So true. Bloxy says, do a trolling session on feminists. Okay, listen. It's in the cards. We're going to work on it, okay, eventually. All right? I got to get the casting together for the podcast and stuff. But this is an idea. Yes, I do want to get like college liberals on and have some debates and nice podcasts and stuff. Again, this is part of the plan. So if you'd like to donate to the studio we've been building, which is real. Watch Sunday stream. It is real. It's all greatly appreciated. But let's see what else we got going on here. I'm MJ, you're LeBron. What a joke. This is just untrue. Also, even if that were the case, I'm not saying LeBron is better than MJ because he's not. But technically, I have more points than you. What color is your all-time points record? Dollar for dollar? Exactly. What you gonna say? What you gonna do? Jonathan says, I love you, Vince. Thank you, Jonathan. I love you, too. Zoom is worse since you have to be 16, even though Google allows 13-year-olds. Why is that a good thing, Bloxy? I really don't particularly want a 13-year-old calling into my show because, I should set, I don't know how I would verify that, but I should probably make that an official policy. No under 18s calling in. Okay, I'm just gonna say that so that way parents. What am I supposed to do? But it is true. Too bad one of the Vinces doesn't have a beard. Okay, listen. I was growing the stubble in the video earlier today, and then I was like, I look gross, I feel gross. I shaved it off in time for the show, and now I look like myself. So, I don't think this is the case. Bloxy says I'm 14. Okay, well listen, I suppose like if you called in, I wouldn't really like be able to stop you from doing that, but are you even allowed to be on YouTube? Like, I don't know. Or I guess you can't be on Zoom. That's probably for the best. Okay, it's probably for the best. If to call in a stream, I'm gonna say verbally, you need to be 18 years old because I'm not gonna deal with nobody's parents. Hey, you're not supposed to be on the internet or whatever it is. Okay, either 18 years old or I need a signed parental consent. How about that? Yeah. Okay, guys, I've got no more super chats. Then I will call it a night here. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Be sure to join us tomorrow night. Probably normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, although I'm not sure because they're doing part 2 of the Town Hall. So we might do something similar to what we did tonight. Or maybe, I don't know, I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know. But I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Until then, folks, alpha moves only. God bless. Everyone have a very good night. Sleep well. Get the stream to 100 likes before you go. And peace. See you guys later.